have your attention, please? Your attention, please. So 5 to 6 p.m. Friday, we have our Hall of Famers available at the Covelli Center for interviews. Again, 5 to 6 p.m. Friday, if you want to interview the Hall of Famers, that would be the best time to get them versus trying to sit on our sidelines at halftime or in between the quarters, although you can't do that. So 5 to 6 p.m. Hall of Famers Friday at the Covelli Center. For those of you guys going to Illinois, I've got credentials coming to me. I should have them Monday of next week, so I'll bring them here Tuesday and have them Wednesday as well.
The Washington Press Box had post-game beer. I would like to present that. Maybe put it in before Mike takes over.
And it was good.
It was good.
Just wait for Ross's thing is clear out.
They did?
Well, there were like $100.
They ordered enough for an entire other group. Yeah, did you guys get some?
I watched Adam during the one that already had a
What are we doing?
I said Austin, I think I was and then I couldn't figure it out. But he was like, hey,
Media day tomorrow.
Yeah. And then I opened the other one.
Media day tomorrow.
Yeah, they dumped sauce all over. Like they don't do the whole once it's done and then they just put it back in the box.
You're right. Who's rule do you think?
I hope it was down.
He's like Caleb.
I was like,
Go around the bar out who doesn't like chicken.
hey, quick question, guys. You have to eat half the chicken.
We're asking about what why did you do that?
Yeah, that's it.
We're psychology.
We don't really have a chicken.
I reached out to let him know I'm here.
I just want to stay here.
That's all.
It was just like
I mean, free. I didn't. It's only a free. Sure, the dawn.
This is my dream. I don't know what you're about to say.
I know whatever he had was spicy as hell.
Murph, how's that breakfast Asian food?
You are so happy about this. Jesus Christ. Good day to yourself.
I'm very tough to get over. I'll talk to my people. I'll have my people.
Yeah,
sorry.
Very important. Apartment smells of rich mahogany. He's going on the next week and he's just like so giddy.
So I have to check. Sometime like Sunday afternoon, evening, or Monday morning.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could.
Your email?
Like skip it.
Oh, yeah, I can have mine. Sure.
It's on, but I.
little thing in the counter.
Like 1:15. I got home at 2. I don't know whatever you see 2 seconds.
Did you say? No. Oh, we were talking about the Gophers. Oh, then like, give me crap. But the last thing they want to do is great shirts. I think so.
Bill, heard you guys. I saw you guys are. Do you want to look at your favorite fullbacks?
Oh, what's up?
Sunday night. Oh, sorry.
I think it should happen.
I think it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter to you.
Especially in a sport that's like similar to like one-on-one and playing more 12
Right, and you could even do some of what they did with Chris Rossi in the shotgun and have kind of that hammer roll. Yeah. Favorite, obviously the best fullbacks is Bob Ferguson and Zeke Johnson. My favorite though, like in maybe that awful name is Don Max. Yeah. Yes.
Aaron guy over there. What are the systems there? It took him 7 years to finally brought the 49ers. Somebody asked on our board yesterday if they would offer scholarships to an actual fullback, and I first I think they would. It's like, no, don't do that. It's like, you know what? I think they would actually offer it. They don't do it. It's like I was talking. I think it happened. Like, it's not happening until 2010 or whatever. But people were checking like right before the break. It's hilarious. I imagine it's like when I brought it up. I don't know, man. He's pretty good. Is he the third best running back in the middle? Yeah, that's what running back. Yeah, that's would have been better post. Every time I see Nate Frazier fumble, I remember when I was every time he goes, I was here, Nate Frazier would be there. I was like, oh, that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I was here, Nate Frazier would be here.
I used to say we're going to come around. After a while, I would just say, I don't. Then I'm like, wait, do I get some kind of payment? Because he was running about. I'm like, so I was chatting, and he made some comment, and he was getting a comment. It's like he had already
What school uses the fullback?
They're only Service Academy.
There are a lot of teams that use
A lot of teams use it.
Which the Power 4 right Army fullback commit is in November.
Allegedly.
We need him to actually. He's an important part of it.
Put a lot of thought into it. You think that who's going to ask if he's mad at the CFP nerds for saying they don't carry the ball downfield, even though they do all the time?
They do, yes. They did not on Saturday because it was not there.
Yeah, what is the number one reason not to?
Yes. When a team is like, hey, we're going to take this away. Now, could they have thrown the ball more early? Yes.
Well, they were running the ball fine. I think I was fine with that. They didn't have the main plays.
They ran the ball fine on the first drive. Yeah. The second drive, they didn't. And that was when people, myself,
They didn't actually. They didn't have that many.
No, and that's part of it. That's kind of what I'm right now. Like, two things can be true. You could have come out with an unnecessarily conservative approach against two freshman cornerbacks who hadn't played very much,
well, and,
and not use your best receivers.
The teammate had it. What they defense was 100% the opposite of what they normally do.
Hi, Ryan. Hostile environment on Saturday. You guys didn't have to call timeout throughout the entire game. How rare is that? What does that say about your offense, Julian's command of it, and just the offense that you're putting together?
Well, we spent a long time during those 2 weeks, cranking up the music and give our facilities people a lot of credit. We had monster speakers out there and made it really loud and hard to communicate. And it was a little frustrating at times with the scout team, but it was worth it because in the preparation, we were able to handle, the chaos of it. So I thought that was good. But again, always, as a coach, you're always thinking about the things we got to get better at. But I will say that I thought our guys handled the environment well. I do think that there was a reference point for some of these guys coming in. Maybe some of them didn't play last year, but Julian, for example, traveled to Oregon. He traveled to Penn State. He was out all the playoff games. So he knew what that was like. Carson and Luke, both who were involved with all the silent count, had played with the silent count in the past. And that's a big piece of it. When your quarterback has poise and then your center and guard who's turning back and part of the operation has poise and composure, it kind of calms everybody down back there. That being said, we had the one false start, but that actually, Julian started a cadence, so we got a little screwed up there. But it's the other penalties in the red zone that got us off track, and those are things that can't happen, especially when we're in a game where we only have 6 possessions. We've got to be efficient, and that's an area we're going to focus on this week.
Ryan, Rutgers found success on the ground against Minnesota in a way that the first 3 opponents hadn't. What's the challenge trying to control the line of scrimmage against their defensive front?
Well, they historically have played very, very physical against the run and continue to do that. I thought Rutgers had a really good game plan going in, but they're well coached and play really, really hard and have good players. I respect PJ Fleck as much as anybody in the country and their coaching staff and how hard they play. And so it'll be a challenge. You don't play Minnesota and think you're just going to run the ball without a lot of hard work. And so, we're working hard this week to put a good game plan together. And then we need to, put that to work here on a Tuesday practice and a Wednesday practice and a Thursday practice to get ourselves prepared to go play. And that's the routine that we're looking to master right now. So team meeting at 2:30 and we'll have a Buddy Tuesday and get to work on it.
Right. When you have a player like Davison Igbinosun, who a year ago obviously had a lot of issues, let's say, with penalties and that the discussion around him, and then you see how he's bounced back in the first 4 games of this year. What have you seen out of him to see him elevate the way he has?
Well, there's a lot of growth. Davison has always brought an edge to him. That's why I love having IGB around me. He just brings great energy to the table. There's an edginess, there's a toughness, there's a competitiveness, a grittiness, and he's aggressive. Did he cross the line last year? I mean, you guys can be the judge of that, but we love the competitiveness. He had to learn technically, what he needed to do to improve that so that we didn't hurt the team. But his edge and, that rubs off on a lot of guys. I mean, this is a team sport. And I say that all the time. Your body language, affects other people on the team. And the minute he walked on our campus, he's had an effect. And I think because of that, doesn't matter who we're playing. He's going to bring it every day. And that's in practice and that's on the field. So, what you do in practice, you're going to do in a game. And I think he's practicing at a high level. We found different ways to try to help with the grabbing and those types of things, the top of routes. And so how you practice is how you play. And he's a great example of that.
Talk a little about saying about how the team in general, though. What do you know about your club now, 4 games in, especially going into that type of situation, the way they handle it?
Well, one of the things this summer we talked about, we got to grow up in a big way, but you're seeing maturity. I mean, there's no way to shake it other than that. You're seeing guys handle themselves well, like pros. They're executing on the field well. They're building confidence. I say all that, and you guys know what I'm going to say. Like, we're not anywhere near where we need to be. We have to continue to get better. We got a lot of work to do, but to play the way that we've played up to this point shows maturity, and that was a big emphasis point for us this summer with a team that hadn't had a lot of experience. Guys needed to step into roles and play experienced. I think to go on the road and get that is only going to build our confidence moving forward, and those are the type of environments we're going to have to win in order for us to reach our goals. This one's a whole different. We're back at home. It's a night game. Should be a great crowd, a lot of energy. I think our guys are feeding off of just the energy around the program right now. So different, whole different set of, whole different scenario this week. Last week it was, we leave on Thursday. We get out there for 2 days, which, by the way, I thought our guys handled that well. Going all the way to the West Coast, it's a long trip out to Seattle. I thought the operations, everybody involved with it did a good job here because it was pretty seamless. We had a little bit of an issue getting out, but once that happened, I think it's important for our players to see familiar faces, see some familiar things when they get there, and we have to make sure we eliminate all distractions as coaches and as an organization. I thought we did that, and guys kind of found themselves into a rhythm. I thought we actually got closer over those 2 days. We were able to spend some time in the meal room. We watched that Florida State-Virginia game, and just, the amount of, camaraderie that was going on and bonding in those meal rooms during that time, I think was good. It reminded me last year sort of the playoff, which was sort of our plan. And then getting back on the plane and enjoying that win on a long flight back was great. So really positive coming out of that. But again, okay, we wiped the slate clean on Sunday like we do. Anytime we walk off the field on Sunday, that game's behind us and it's on to Minnesota. And they bring their own set of challenges. But it's good to be back home and back in our routine.
Ryan, I remember there being times with Justin and then CJ where you'd say your favorite throws were the ones they threw away, right? Decision-making. Julian seemed to do that maybe more on Saturday than he had in the first few games. What was your evaluation of the decision-making process and then signs of growth there, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, I thought there was definitely some of those. And, there was one in particular on the naked that we got to find a way to throw that one away. We can't take negative plays in a red zone. That's for everybody. But I think you saw one. We try to move to Jeremiah, came back. It wasn't there. We decided to go max protection with no check down. He had to throw that ball away. I mean, that's a really good decision. We can live with 2nd and 10. We can't be 2nd and 17. I like the way he extended plays. Even on extension where you're running and you're getting 3 yards, 2nd and 7 is better than 2nd and 10 or a sack. And then I thought a big play for him was the 3rd and 17. We got 2-man. He escapes the pocket. Typically nobody has the quarterback unless it's a 3-man rush against 2-man. He's added to the field goal. I think he scrambled for like 12 yards, and then shortened that field goal, which adds the percentage of make there. So that's all like really great teaching moments for somebody who has only had 4 starts. And in a game like that, these games are more like the NFL now. And when we're in a game like that where both teams are huddling and the possessions are at a premium, these decisions are critical. So great learning experiences for him, understanding how that works, and for our team in general.
Ryan, you guys do a lot formationally, and you've talked before about how football can be cyclical, and you see like some teams going back to 12 personnel and things like that. Do you think there is room for, have you ever considered or would you consider recruiting, rostering a fullback and maybe even lose like a scholarship or rev share spot on a traditional blocking back?
Well, I think you're seeing us play with, a fullback, quote unquote, in the backfield, but we feel like the skill set can be handled by our tight end body types. Now, if there's somebody that, fits that role and can do certain things like carry the ball, can insert on run game, kick out on gap schemes, catch the ball out of the backfield, also run the ball, it would be a consideration for sure. But I think the thing about it is you have to bring versatility. So if you're a receiver and you can only run routes and you can't block, you don't have a lot of versatility. You don't bring as much value unless you're just like really, really elite at that one thing. If you're a tight end, you can only block and you can't run routes, or you can run routes but you can't protect, you don't bring as much value, because eventually what teams are going to do is they're going to say, when he's in the game, he's doing this. Same thing with the running backs, like Xavier Johnson and some of the guys that we've had in the past who could do multiple things, bring so much value to the table. And so for me, like if you're a tight end and you can line up in the backfield and do some of those things that a fullback's asked to do, you bring value. If all you can do is line up and do those things as a fullback, you lose value, because now when he's in the game, it's 2 backs. So to answer your question, we're trying to find as many guys who can do multiple things so that we don't get nailed down when teams are game planning us.
Philip Daniels will see some familiar faces coming up this week. Where is he through 4 games?
He's made great progress. And when you come into a program like this, now he's an Ohio player who has a lot of pride in the state. So, he knows what it means to be a Buckeye, but you don't just walk into the program and think you're going to get on the field. He's earned his spot, and, he is a tough guy. He plays tough. He's right on the edge of it sometimes, which as a coach is great until a flag comes out. Then it's not great. But we love the intensity. We love the passion. We love how hard he plays. He gives us an edge. He's continually working to get better technically in everything that he's doing. And he has a higher ceiling even than he's at right now. So he's got to come in here and have a great week of practice. And this will be a big week for him playing against his old team for sure. But I think the guys appreciate what he brings every day. He brings a work ethic and a toughness to work every day, and we can build off of that.
There's been a lot of talk about the pace of play on offense, but can it be beneficial for the different ways you guys have found a way to win? When it comes, you only had 6 possessions in Washington. If you find a way to put the game away in the second half, is that something new you guys are learning as an offense, kind of moving forward here?
I think every week it's important as coaches to look at the game where you are at, and the number one goal is to win the game. And we have to make sure we stay focused on that part of it. But then it's also important for us to take a step back at the beginning of the week and ask ourselves, where are we going? And I think all those things come into play. And so, you're making a decision once you get going during the week. Everything is about that opponent. But early in the week, you're going to ask yourself, where are we going? What is the identity? What do we need to get done in all three phases? And so all those things come into consideration when we're making decisions on everything. So there's the short-term decisions that are made, and there's the long-term decisions that are made. And so we take all those conversations very seriously, and we go from there.
I asked you about this back earlier this year, the 2022 recruiting class. You're down to 7 from that class, and then only a couple of them that really contributed a ton before this year. Obviously, Caden Curry, Kenyatta, these guys are now emerging. How important has their development been and getting something out of that class?
Man, it's great to see guys stick with it, because not everybody comes in and has the college career that they think exactly is going to go the way they think it's going to be. There's challenges along the way, adversity along the way. There's setbacks, and you really find yourselves asking questions about do I really belong here? Is this the right place for me? Am I good enough? It's just a lot of doubt can set in. And so you're seeing some guys in that class who hung in there come out the back end. And you're seeing KJ play with just great energy in the game. I mean, his body language, in my opinion, was as good as I've ever seen it. He played with great poise. He was encouraging his teammates. I thought he showed great leadership in the game and played really, really well. Caden Curry. I mean, Caden's somebody who has played a lot of football here, special teams wise, and has made a lot of plays, but now he's a key contributor. And, he's had his ups and downs along the way. But, in this program, between what goes on the field, what goes on in the weight room, what goes on off the field here, if you hang in there and you just continue to put one day in front of the other and build resilience up, you're going to get maximized. And those are 2 great examples of it.
Right, you just talked about Caden and Kenyatta, but your entire starting defense are guys who have been in this program for multiple years. You guys had the opportunity to develop. What kind of value does that bring when you have, a whole defense full of guys who have been here and have kind of developed over the years?
Well, I think that's it. In today's day and age, it's hard when guys do leave the program because you want to build continuity and stability. And so when you have guys who stay for multiple years and you retain guys, then the culture is strong and can be reinforced and rebuilt each year. And I think you're seeing that right now. But to me, it's about a mindset, and it starts when they first get here. Everything starts with a thought, and then thoughts lead to feelings lead to, what you say, and then what you say, becomes your actions and your behavior. But it all starts with your mentality and what you're thinking about. And whether it's on the field, in our meetings, what goes on in the training room, what goes on in the weight room, I think there's alignment that we all understand what the expectation is here. And it's a place where, guys can come in the building and get maximized and pushed and be, feel uncomfortable. I talked to the staff today, like there shouldn't be one person in this building that feels comfortable when they walk around. But at the same time, people love being in the building. And I think that to me is winning culture. But it's day to day, man. And we are in a race to be the best in the country. And so, we got to wake up early and make sure that, we're out in front of this, because where we're going is not easy. And we got to keep pushing because the issues are there. But if we keep showing up to work with that type of mentality on a daily basis, then we can get to where we need to be. But it's great to have guys in a program who have seen that work and believe in it.
Brandon was close to ripping off a big punt return, obviously, then he puts the ball on the ground. We've talked about the punt return situation before. Is there any anticipation of changes coming after that? If you still stick with Brandon?
Well, I think that Brandon needs to hold on to the ball. And so whether it's offense or special teams, we're going to get that fixed. And we believe in Brandon. If Brandon didn't fumble that ball, I don't think anybody would be asking if he was the right guy back there. So he needs to hang on to the ball because he's had 2 good returns here the last 2 games. And that's the bottom line. So we're going to count on him getting that fixed, making sure that the ball's not on the ground. He needs to bolt it in high contact areas. And we believe in him. He's a guy that, we see it every day. And nobody hurt more than he did when he put the ball on the ground, because we all know what a big point in the game that was. But that being said, I like the way he's hit that one, and I like the way he hit the one week before. He got vertical. Guys did a good job. I think they believe in him on the team. So we're going to keep working with it. But, that's the positive part of it. So hang on to the ball, and we're not having this conversation. Yeah.
I think coming into the season, a lot of people had high expectations for Edric. I'm sure he had high expectations for himself. You talked about inconsistency last week, but I guess the mental side of it, like what's your message to players who's kind of going through it, trying to get right and keep him involved as the season progresses?
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about. When you're a young player, you think and sometimes you don't. I think you need to rely on your coaches and guys who have been through it before when you face adversity to look to them for advice. And the biggest thing is just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Avoid all distractions. And I think not in particular here, but just in general, when you're a young player, now more than ever, there's a lot of distractions. And the focus has to be on where they are right now and having a great Tuesday practice. That's all that matters. And staying focused throughout a whole practice, staying focused throughout a whole game, concentrating on the meeting at hand or the walkthrough is very, very important. And so as you get older, that becomes easier, I think. And that's where you can gain an edge against your opponent. So that's just one example. There's a lot of things when you're a young player that you have to continue to work through. But a big part of it is showing up every day and understanding, we say it all the time, that scarlet line that we cross when we walk on the field every day. The game doesn't care what you're going through. The game doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're having a good day, a bad day. I'm not going to get into it last week. We had a guy who was sick all week. Didn't say anything to anybody. The game didn't care. He graded out a champion. Like that's being a pro. That was a veteran guy who was, under the weather, but you never felt it all week because the game doesn't care. Once you cross back over the scarlet line, that's why you invest in your faith, your family, and your friends to rely on them to help you through those times. So I would say for a young player that's going through a difficult time, invest in your faith, family, and friends off the field so they can help you through it. But when you get on the field, the game doesn't care, man. You got to show up every day. And that's part of growing up. And but that's the program. And that's part of the resilience of why we continue to work through all these things. And we want to make sure that guys know that they've got a great support group here that's going to help them through those things. But at the end of the day, we got to show up and play.
Ryan, you talked about the penalties in the red zone. I feel like after every game we've been here, we've talked about the red zone. So how do you focus on getting that cleaned up without then the guys having a complex when they cross that 20-yard line?
Well, it was the negative plays in this game. It was the sack, and then it was 2 penalties. So I thought there was some good. We were resilient down there. We got the big run that got us to 4th down. We went for it. We didn't execute on the 1 4th down and 1, which is disappointing. But we also found ourselves again, on 2 third and longs, and we kept playing, hit the tunnel screen to Jeremiah, which was big. So, there was positives there, but we want to be perfect. We want to score touchdowns every time we get down there. The goal is 75% of our red zone trip should be touchdowns. We can't take negative plays. And so we'll take a look at that and continue to work through it. I thought some of the things that we had down there were good. But when you're down in the red area, it's not easy. You can see, some of the teams we're playing against, in our defense, the challenges they're presenting. And when you only have 6 possessions, you got to be really good. And understanding that is critical. So we do. And, we're going to keep swinging away at it.
Brian, I think Bo's first touch, he's kind of lined up outside, motion back into the backfield. What about his skill set lends you guys the ability to get him involved in different ways? And he maybe even plays some 2-back stuff as he did.
Yeah, that was all of our all of our running backs can play receiver. That's sort of a prerequisite now because of what we were just talking about with Bill's. Like you have to be able to play multiple things. If you're just a running back and you can't run a route out of the backfield or line up at receiver if we need you to, or you can't protect, you're not bringing a lot to the table. And all these guys can do that. Bo, when he was young, I thought he was going to be a receiver because of how well he ran routes on the outside when he used to come to camp. And then as he grew up and got stronger, you realize he was going to be a running back, but he can do multiple things. CJ started out as a receiver, and James can catch the ball out of the backfield, so can Isaiah West. So as the season goes on, you'll start to see that, sort of like we did with Trey and Quinshawn, become more and more of a weapon because that's something that has to happen as a running back here in this offense.
lot of the oxygen so far this season has been around Mel in the linebacker room, but what has Sonny meant to you guys through 4 games, and how did you think the communication was on defense on Saturday?
Yeah, Sonny is a grown man. The way he handles his business, the way he plays, the way he leads, the way he communicates, it's like having a coach out there. And I think he's had a big part of the maturity of our defense every day. They watch the way he works. If he doesn't like something, he calls it out. And he's a big part of the reason why our defense has had success so far to this point. Not only his play and his versatility, you guys know he started out as a safety, came down, played linebacker. He can do things off the edge. So he has a lot of versatility as a player, but he's very, very intelligent and he communicates well. So all of those things have had a major impact on our defense and allow us to do different things. And that's important. You know, you're seeing the different looks that our defensive staff is putting out there in terms of a game plan. That's all good until you put somebody out there that can't execute it. And that takes a lot of work, takes a lot of meetings, takes a lot of walkthroughs. And because, Sonny's in the middle of it all, it's working.
Ryan, just like point of information, would you mind running through how you guys coach up the different special teams units this year with the staff?
Yep. So everybody's involved. What we do is we meet here on Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. with everybody involved with special teams. Offense and defensive line, quarterbacks aren't involved, coordinators aren't involved, but everybody else is. So we got an army of people in here working on special teams. Rob Keys heads it up. He does punt return. He's sort of the point man there. And then each position is coached up by somebody individually. Then on punt, Matt Guerreri heads that up, again, with a lot of help from different folks. I'm involved with it all. Kickoff return, Nate Ebner, game plans that, gets up in front of the group and coaches that, again, with a lot of help. And then James Laurinaitis does the kickoff. So, we have multiple coaches up in front of the group, which I think is good for our team. It's a different voice. It's a different attack, but it's also accountability for everybody. We're all involved with special teams.
It seems like you've been talking a lot about situational football with fewer possessions in the game. It seems like special teams could become even more important than
Huge.
How do you feel so far for a month into the season about your special teams?
Yeah, I forgot about field goal because Tyler Bowen does the field goal, and then on defense, everybody's involved, but Sam McGrath really helps with that, and I thought they did a nice job. Like for instance, on the field goal, that was a huge stop in the game. Apparently they maybe saw something on film, and we were able to change that up. But yeah, those are the plays. You don't make that play and they get the fake field goal and score a touchdown. You never know what happens. The punt return, we fumble, we don't fumble. Who knows what that game looks like? So we're not pleased with the kickoff return getting towards midfield. We're going to get that fixed. That was a misfit. But to your point, every play matters more and more. And so we got to be special teams have to be an advantage for us. We put a lot of work into it. We got a lot of buy-in in the program through coaches and players. And, so we say our best players play. And if we decide to pull somebody out, it's because we decide to. And then we try to find, young guys to get in there. Aaron Scott's a player who, to me, he made the play that he made in the game through the last couple of weeks. The last 13 times that we've run down on kickoff, he was the first guy to the 30-yard line. Then he gets there, in the game, and he makes that hit inside the 20-yard line. Why? Because for the last 13 times, he was the first guy to the 30-yard line. It's a great example. Aaron Scott's going to start playing more football around here. And so that's how you cut your teeth on special teams, and that's the culture that we have, and the guys buy into it.
Ryan, you've talked about using the hot hand at running back this season. It seems last 2 weeks, though, it's shifted more Bo and CJ. I know James got in some. Are you comfortable with that type of rotation? Do you want 3 guys? Does it change game to game? How do you guys evaluate just how that's gone so far?
Well, like you said, when you only have six possessions and 60 some odd plays, those reps are valuable, and so there's not as many in that type of a game to go around. I think there's going to be plenty more to go around for these guys, and we need all of them. I think they're all growing in different areas. I think it starts with CJ, who is still figuring out this, this offense and how we do things here and the expectation. And he's growing. He's done some really good things, made some big plays already for us. And so he's got to continue to get better. I think every time Bo and James get on the field, they're sort of doing it for the first time a lot of times. And so, you're seeing the growth from those guys, and they need to play. The more they play, the more you're going to find out about them, and they're going to grow. And the only time as a running back, you got to play. And the quicker they learn, the better their career is going to go.
Obviously, a lot's changed in college football, rule changes, clock rule, all those different things. But even before some of those rule changes, you guys have started gradually playing a little bit slower year by year. And it seems to match up with as your defense has gotten better. Like 4 years ago, I mean, you were in a situation where you got offensive weapons, but you kind of had to use them every single play. 2 years ago, you're talking about how you're having to get used to winning with your defense. And now here you are winning a game 24-6, and you're pretty happy with that. Has that allowed you to not feel so pressurized for your offense to be on every single play and not feel like your quarterback has to have it every single play and he maybe grow throughout the season versus maybe where CJ had to be, where Kyle had to be because of where your defense has gotten over the past 4 years, you figuring out the coaching staff, you getting the right players in the building and whatnot?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but no, I mean, I feel stressed about being on every single play. I don't know. I know the defense is playing good, but that's not the way it is on a headset or how it is on Sundays after watching the film. We expect to execute at a high level, and when we don't, it doesn't go very well. So, there are certain strategies that we're using for different reasons. I won't get into all of them on how we're attacking some of these games. With again, kind of what we were talking about before. The short-term goal of winning, and then you have to look at it from a wide lens of where do we need to be at the end of the season. And, we can't – it's such a balance, like we do have to be right now. We have to take it game after game, day after day, putting one game in front of the other, all those things. But at some point you got to look out and say, okay, this is a long run, a bunch of sprints, not a marathon. That's sort of how we look at it. But when you look at it from a wide lens, we have to have a plan on what we're doing. And there's a lot of different things that go into that. But one thing that isn't compromised is the execution. That has to be at a high level. So, we're chasing that, and we need to. I think we had 16 plays on Saturday of over 10 yards. I think that's what it was. And I think it was more like 25 plays over 8 yards or something like that. It was close. When you have 60 plays, that's a pretty good day at the office. But situational things come in, and when you only have 6 possessions, it can go fast. So all those things are taken into consideration, and we're expecting, though, to score touchdowns every time we touch the ball.
Do you know what your offense is? This is automatic. This is what we know we're good at, and so now you're kind of poking holes to see what's still, to the point of your bigger picture. The focus maybe is on what do we need to get better at week in, week out versus we know we can do this and we can pull this out of our hat whenever we feel we need to.
I think you have an identity and you have a core of what you think you are, and then you go into other areas to figure out how you can diversify. And I think that's the balance we try to find every week.
Last question today. Just a throwaway question. Have you thought about moving Jaden Fielding to gunner on return?
Well, I think we've had 6 returns, and he's had to make 2 tackles, so that's not a good percentage for the kickoff team.
But having a kicker that's willing to do that, what does it do for you?
Well, he was special teams player of the week because of it. He and Aaron Scott were co-special teams players of the week, and he made his field goals here. But then he stuck his nose in there and got him on the ground. When if he didn't do that, Paul would have been past midfield at the very least. So that's why the kickers are involved in everything, mat drills and everything we do in the weight room. And he got run over slow, but he got him down, so that was good.
Real quick, Arvell Reese, how would you describe where he's come to at this point, in his career and stuff? And is it a combination of Matt Patricia and James Laurinaitis finding exactly what he can do best and sicking him on people? How would you describe the rise of Arvell Reese?
Well, I thought the play that he made early in the game on the spy when Williams escaped to his left out in space, this is a guy – I kind of used a rabbit as an example, trying to chase a rabbit. I mean, he was so quick. And just the way that he was able to twitch, change direction, get him on the ground, it caught me in game. He's got great twitch. He's got great power. And, every day he's getting better as a football player. I use the example of when he was at linebacker when he got here. He went in and played defensive line for a month or 2 months during when he was on the scout team as a freshman. It's a great example of a player who used that opportunity to get better, because now, like you said, coaches can put him up in a line of scrimmage. He can rush the passer because of what he learned in that moment, where some guys would say, oh, I'm just down on the scout team and now I'm playing defensive end. No, that's an opportunity to learn from. And now he has that versatility, just like on offense, to be able to play it at, 2 different levels. And Sonny's an example of someone that's played that can play at 3 different levels. And those are all really valuable, just like on offense. But he certainly has become a huge part of our defense. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah.